Okay, so as I said, I'm head of department of the law school. So Liverpool itself, you'll see that these slides throughout have some QR codes. Don't try and use your iPhone or Samsung or whatever your device is to read them. I've sent Jean a copy of these slides with the codes in them, so you will have them available along with the recording afterwards. The QR code on this slide will take you to an insider's guide to Liverpool. So if you want to know all about Liverpool from the students, international and others who've been there, use that QR code and you'll see some video on YouTube and some stories about where's good to eat, which I know is important. So where is it? It's in the northwest of England. As I said, it's where that red dot is. You can see that is the northwest of the UK because above Newcastle is Scotland. So it looks like it's the middle of the map. That is actually the northwest of England. It's a port city. It was a port for a very long time. We've the oldest Chinatown in Europe, for example, for that reason. And it means we're extremely well connected with international airports close by. Liverpool itself has an airport that flies to Europe and some other countries, and Manchester flies internationally. And as we'll talk about, if you're coming to us from Malaysia, you're best to fly into Manchester, not Heathrow, because Heathrow is a bit further away. But even if for whatever reason you can get a flight into London, you're only 2.5 hours away from Liverpool by train. Being a port means we're great if you want to explore the UK and you're coming to us post-pandemic and want to go and visit places, we're very well located. And we're also close to the famous Lake District. If you want to see the seasons burst and enjoy scenery, you can. It's a city that embraces unconventional thinking and culture. I'm not going to spend any time on it. It's a bit like KL. Anything you want to do, there's something to do, except we have a lot of history as well. So the Tudor building you can see is Speke Hall. It's been around since Tudor times, and it's about 5 minutes drive from where I currently live. We've got art, galleries, museums, basically anything you want to do, Liverpool is the city for you to do it in. Now this slide gives me a little bit of pain. Liverpool means football. If this was last year, I'd be telling you about how Liverpool won the Premier League. This year, we're just taking a bit of a rest. So if you're a Liverpool fan, you're a bit upset with Liverpool's league position. It just happens, we're taking a rest. We have got another team in Liverpool, I believe. They're in blue. If you're an Evertonian, good for you. If you're a Chelsea fan or a Man United fan, perhaps some other universities for you. Because in Liverpool, we really live by our football. And I should say before I leave there that if you want to see football games, if they're playing again, which they currently are, or if you want to see the stadia, they're very easy to get to from within the city centre. So virtually every student who comes across at some point makes the pilgrimage to one or other of the football stadiums. We're also a city with a proud legal heritage and a lot of legal firsts. I just wanted to share with you 2 bits of information, really. The picture in the centre is a family court. Now, you know, in English law, cases are usually heard by the High Court in different divisions. As an attempt to streamline process, and because family proceedings are difficult, because they're emotional, they decided to trial in Liverpool a new type of family court which dealt with family hearings, and it's been so successful it's now going to be rolled out to some other cities such as Leeds in the UK. So there are a lot of legal firsts in Liverpool, and we have been teaching law at Liverpool, not personally, but we've been teaching law for well over 100 years. So we're extremely well established, and we have superb links with the profession locally, nationally, and globally. And I want to draw your attention to the picture on the bottom in black and white. That's Dame Rose Hebron. She was one of the first, so we pioneered in feminism, if you like, at Liverpool Law School as well. She was one of the first female judges to be called to the bar and then into the court. And she was a first-class graduate from Liverpool, and actually one of the first women in the whole country, in the whole of the UK, to become a first-class graduate many years ago. So there's lots to do in Liverpool. Again, I'm not going to spend this talk, because I know you want me to talk about modules and everything else, talking about the campus, but there's a superb virtual tour. And again, if you want to see the campus, see what the buildings are like, see the fact that we are a city centre campus, we're all nicely based, see why we're called a red brick university, although it's not really that surprising because you can see the original university building on the slide, which is made of red brick, hence the name. You can use the QR code and you'll be taken to a virtual tour. And you'll also get reflections from a Singaporean student who spent their time in Liverpool in the law school. So the picture that's behind me this is where I might get emotional, is our new £25 million home, which you can see is the School of Law and Social Justice. The reason I might get emotional is I was in it for 2 months. So we moved into it in January 2020. And of course, because of our global health crisis and various lockdowns, particularly in the UK, we haven't been back in any sustained sense since. But this building houses all staff. It houses something I'll talk about in a moment, our legal clinic. It houses lots of student space. It's a fabulous bespoke facility. We waited 10 years for it, but it was designed with our needs in mind. And it includes a moot court. And also has space for one of our partners who help with our professional qualifications, the University of Law, more of which in a moment. So why would you come to Liverpool Law School? What is it about our ethos and our teaching? Generally, before I talk about what it is in our current situation and what we're planning from September this coming year. Well, as I said, I've tried to produce it to 6 points on the slide. We are what we call a research-led teaching institution. We are a research-intensive university. And that means that you're taught, particularly in your third years, you'll see our modules are designed around people's research interests. We employ a number of really key and leading edge researchers in law, and they are the people who are teaching you. And we are fairly unique in that every single member of staff teaches. So I'm professor and head of department, but you won't escape me, I'm afraid, if you come. I will be teaching you equity and trusts. And that links me into the next point. You're taught by people who write key textbooks. So if you do banking law, Professor Aurora is a banking lawyer. She writes the textbook for it. Professor Stokes, who's our current director of education, who deals with educational policy in the law school, he writes the commercial law textbook. I write the equity and trust textbook. And these are textbooks that are not just used in Liverpool, they are used throughout the common law world. You can buy them in bookshops everywhere if you wanted to. The other part, so you're taught by people who are not only passionate about research, they're passionate about teaching. And we focus on the development of your skills because we know we're preparing you for a world that's ever changing. And that what you need are skills and application as much as knowledge so that you can succeed in whatever your goals are. And we, if you like, bake that in to the offering we give you at the university. We enhance our teaching through technology and new pedagogies, which has left us in a very good position when we had to move to deal with the pandemic this year. And as I'll try and explain to you, we've used the opportunity to, like a lot of other law schools, changed our assessment diet to make assessment more exciting and less at one point of failure. So the question we usually get asked is it coursework or is it exam? As you'll see, that question's no longer as relevant as it was. And then we have a career-focused and rich set of extracurricular activities, which again, I'll come on to. And the picture is of me giving someone a scholarship award back in 2019 when we could actually touch each other rather than just by elbow. So what has normally, in a talk like this, as Jean has heard many times before, I've been talking about you come into the UK and are sitting in large lecture theatres and large rooms talking. Of course, things have changed. This year, we've so far been wholly online because of the pandemic, but we've learned a lot. And some of the things we've learned have actually improved our educational experience. And we've listened to what our students who are with us currently have been telling us about what we teach. And so we have set our plans already for next year. We have adopted wholesale a piece of software called Canvas, which is a superb virtual learning platform, which is being used by lots of institutions across the world. And as you'll see, I'll show you some examples of what it looks like in a moment. It really is a fantastic platform to support teaching. Note support, not deliver teaching. What we are moving to, along with the rest of the university, is something called hybrid active learning, where we're trying to mix the best of the digital and face-to-face. So one thing we are not planning from September is to have you in the big lecture halls or lecture you like this, where you sit for an hour or 2 hours and someone just speaks at you. What we've done is this year, and what our students have been really, really appreciative of, is we've broken down lecture topics into shorter pieces, often between 15 and 30 minutes on a topic, and record it as a conversation like this. And this allows you, which is then pre-posted for you, to access whenever you want. That's what we mean by asynchronous. You can get to it whenever you want. And so we've broken things up into smaller chunks so you're not having to concentrate for so long. And we've bolstered those, not just by replacing lectures with these, but by putting in things like little tests or multiple choice questions to test your understanding. And we've tied that into reading as well. So let me be clear, there will be no face-to-face lectures. You won't be lectured in a lecture hall. Instead, in all our modules, we will have these asynchronous materials replacing that side of it. And that's because even if the pandemic is well under control, and I know that the Malaysian vaccination program is beginning to roll out, and we're ahead in the UK of most countries, we still anticipate that social distancing measures, wearing masks and whatever, will still be the norm for at least part of next academic year. So with the student numbers involved, and if we have to social distance in lecture theatres, it just wouldn't work. So there's a good practical reason why we wouldn't do it, but we've also found that our students find this new approach better. And we will bolster that by synchronous sessions, and these are the seminars. And currently these are all online. We haven't planned them that way, but from September, these will be face-to-face. So these will, you'll be meeting people every week. We increased the number of seminars last year so that there was more face-to-face contact, and we're keeping with that increased number. And these are the things you prepare, you come into classes and you talk. So lectures will be replaced by online materials next year, but we will have more face-to-face classes than ever, where you have rich interaction with someone like me, talking through problem questions and talking through answers. Because of that, we no longer talk in contact hours, we talk in engagement hours. So we detail to help you, because, you know, it may sound strange, but you're used to getting up early in the morning to fall into a lecture theatre and listen to someone like me speak for an hour or 2 hours. If you haven't got that time and we're leaving you to do it on your own, some people need some guidance and motivation to help them. And as I'll come to at the end, but just in case I forget, we have some reflections from 2 BAC students recorded on our website about how they've dealt with asynchronous sessions and how they found them difficult at the start because they had to manage their time more effectively, but they've come to really, really love them. And so we've learned from that experience too, and we now will give you an indication of how long we think you should be spending preparing and reading through and dealing with these asynchronous sessions before you then come and do the real meat of your teaching, which is in seminars. And because of the online environment, we've also changed the methods of assessment. You know, for a long time, I've been active in the legal community for 24 years, and I'm part of what's called an executive committee of heads of university law schools, of which there are 5 people, and all heads are part of this grouping. We've been looking at assessment for a while, but we haven't, because of professional reasons, moved away from the big single unseen exam. You know, you have to prepare all the material, you go in, you've got 3 hours or whatever it is, and you've got to reproduce the answers. So we've changed our assessment methods quite considerably, and we've changed our assessment support in each module. So there will be sessions dedicated to revision, as you're used to in BAC, and talking through how to deal with problem questions, etc. So that's our mechanism. So the big change from what you might have had, say, 2 years ago before the pandemic, is there are no lectures delivered in the lecture hall. But the reason for that is partly practical, but also partly that this new asynchronous approach to lecture material is working much better for our students. But there will still be face-to-face classes. So this is what I mean when I say breaking something down. So here's me. If you come and do equity and trust, this is an example of what you'll see on our website. You'll see a beautiful picture of me if you've got good eyesight with a mask on under account. But this is what would have been 4 hours worth of, or 2 hours worth of lectures, where I've broken it down and you see into 20-minute sections, or slightly longer, one's 26, one's 15, one's whatever. These are the elements where it will be me talking over a recording and over slides, and we have them transcribed, they're closed captions, everything's available. And you can download a transcript of the lectures as well. And as I said, it's not just lectures, it's backed up. So that topic which you'll do with me in trusts. It's called Constitution of Trusts. After you read those materials, there's then an online quiz where there are 10 or 15 questions designed to test if you understood the material. And the marks don't count, it's just there as a support. So that's what we mean. That's better than a lecture because it's more interactive and it's broken down into smaller pieces. And that's the platform that we're using, which, as you can see, allows for all sorts of different ways to communicate. The key point is we want you to be active learners, and this is a hybrid mode of delivery. It's not wholly online. We fully intend to be teaching you face-to-face in classes. So what about the modules? Well, I'm assuming most people here are entering year 3. If you enter year 2, you would do the same diet as our students, and that maps exactly to what's needed for professional requirements. If you're entering in year 3, you are required under the partnership arrangement, no matter which partner you go to do equity and trusts. As I said, that will be with me if you come to Liverpool. If you want to practice in the UK, in other words, you want to do the UK Bar course and have, say, a dual qualification and keep your options open, you're required still under the UK regulations to do EU law. We don't pre-register you for that, but you can choose to do it. And if you do, it's a year-long course. So that's why you'll see an optional module start. So basically your 3rd year, you've got, if you like, 2 choices already filled in, which is equity and trust because it sits the year. If you just want to come back to Malaysia and don't want a UK qualification, you can choose 6 modules to do. If you want to do EU law and qualify, you can choose 4 optional modules. So it depends on what you want. And again, very happy to say, because of the pandemic, we've moved our planning. Usually at this point, I will be telling you about the modules that were running last year, but now I can tell you about the modules running next year. The QR code will take you to our module selection guide, which will go into even more detail than I'm about to on these slides. It will show you every module running next year that's available to Malaysian students, and it will give you a detailed bit of content about what the module entails and the assessment method and which semester it's running in. So you've got a choice of either 6 optional modules or 4 optional modules if you're doing EU from over 30 choices for 21-22. We have a registration session with you to help you choose modules. As I said, you're pre-registered for equity and trusts. We have 2 modules that are only available to you in semester 2, which are our clinic modules. I'll come on to that in a moment. And if you choose the wrong module for whatever reason, you can change it within the first 2 weeks, because we recognize that sometimes something sounds fascinating, but actually when you start doing it, it's about as dull as watching paint dry. And we'd much rather you enjoyed the module. Okay, so let me go on to some modules. Very quickly, these are the sorts of things you'd expect to see, and you'll see that these are all running each year. These are the modules that are popular absolutely every year. So intellectual property 1 and 2, one of which is about trademarks and patents, the other is about copyright and design rights. Commercial law, family law, medical law and ethics 1 and 2. Company law, jurisprudence, criminal evidence, principles of international law, law and gender, European Convention on Human Rights. So I haven't put the module descriptions in for those because you'll find them in every law school. Any of your partners will have these modules. And as I said, if you go to the module handbook, you'll see the detail. But what I would like to draw your attention to are the bits in black underneath, which are the assessment methods. Remember I said we've moved away from just simple exams or coursework. You will see a variety of different methods. So let me pick commercial law, for example. You have a scene exam. In other words, you get to see the exam paper before you then have to do it under exam conditions. And you have an online problem solving exercise. It's the 2 together. There are 2 components with different parts to their marks. Family law, you have a group activity. Law and gender, you have coursework and a written presentation. Criminal evidence, an exam, an essay plan, and an engagement score. We've tried to break up assessment and make it much more relevant. So it's very often you will have what's called a scene exam, which means you get a chance to prepare and think about your answers to the questions rather than just simply test your memory. So those are the traditional modules that we run. But let me talk about some of the distinctive modules that you'll see are in that list of 40. And I'm not going to list them all. I'm just going to go through a few slides of what I think are modules you may not see in other partner law schools. First one, artificial intelligence in the future of legal services. you're at BAC, you can't escape the fact, I mean, Raja is very plugged into this, that AI is increasingly changing, disrupting the legal market. And so we have a module which looks particularly at that. It explores the opportunities and risks of using technology to deliver or enhance legal content. And the syllabus is forever changing because the topic is forever changing. And you'll see that the assessment is also very tailored to the module. There's a reflective essay which you have to write and a group presentation task where you work with people like IBM to think through algorithms and other solutions to integrating AI to deal with legal problems. Banking law. Banking law is available in a few partner institutions, but not many. And very few of them have their own professor of banking law to teach it. And banking law for us is not just about bank regulation and banking systems, but it's also about the international context of banking and regulatory systems. So a really useful module. Again, a very traditional module. It has coursework, but it also requires you to do what's called a media log, because part of the teaching is looking at how banking crises and banking issues arise in the media across the world and reflecting on them. Corporate insolvency law. The problem with law, of course, is that it's not really an emotional topic. And if you're a corporate insolvency lawyer across the world, you're going to be very, very busy over the next few decades because, of course, the effect of the pandemic on global trade, on global services will be huge and will force a lot of companies into insolvency. So again, we have Dr. John Tribe teaches this module. As you can see, it looks at legal rules, policy, and theoretical underpinnings of insolvent companies. And again, has a very, very varied method of assessment, including if you turn up and participate and make sure you talk in seminars, you get percentage marks for doing so. We have immigration and asylum law because we have a lot of expertise in that area in Liverpool. And that examines how asylum seekers, refugees, and migrants living in the UK and EU are treated under law. And topics include things like the international refugee system, how these things are enforced by people being deported or detained, and how that sits with things like rights to family life. Really important issue across the world. Some other modules you might not be used to. Privacy, surveillance, and the law of social media. Again, looking at how we deal with things like individuality, identity, and privacy. A very, very popular module. Public health and non-communicable disease. This is looking at issues, particularly things like food marketing, about how food marketing has an impact on what we eat and can help deal with things like obesity. It's a good example of a non-communicable disease. How do you prevent this? How can you use legal regulation to try and change people's habits in terms of eating healthier by banning, if you like, prime time advertising to children of ludicrously sticky sweets and sugar-based drinks. Really, really key module. Contemporary issues in the law of business enterprise. This, again, is one of our commercial-facing modules. You can delve into strategies and operations of corporations, both internationally and domestically, and it's taught through a series of case studies of key businesses. Children's rights debates. As you can see, it has, funnily enough, since it has debates in the title, there's a debating exercise as part of the assessment. This is to look at on a profoundly critical level at how children's rights are represented in law or often not represented in law. International arbitration, increasingly important about treaties and treaty negotiations and matters of international law. Also taught in Liverpool this way through, and you can see assessed again through a dual party, different way. And then another module I'm involved in, because it's one of my research areas, debates and charity law, one of the only two modules about charity law that exist in the UK. And this is about all sorts of aspects of law, about how welfare works, about how people are housed socially, about whether schools can be charities, a whole variety of different things. And then two jewels in our Liverpool crown, which are modules that you can only do in semester two. So if your choices are, if you've got 4 choices or 6 choices, you choose 2 per semester or 3 per semester. If you've only got two choices, you might choose these two, and you can only do them a semester too. The reason being they're extremely different, and we want you to have experience of the UK system before we let you do these modules. That's the only reason. Because as you'll see, our legal clinic is an award-winning legal clinic. It's won so many awards over its 12-year inception. And it's because it's a real clinic. It's not a virtual clinic where you deal with pretend cases. You are being taught by people who are solicitors with real case files who we employ to teach you. And so you will be giving legal advice. You will be working with someone. And as you can see, that's why you have a very different assessment method than anything you're used to. You draft a portfolio, you have to learn file management. You have to reflect on your coursework portfolio. Likewise, a version of that is our Access to Justice and Welfare Rights advice module, where you work with people and give advice in the local community, in different organizations. And so these are really key modules and really transformative. And again, that segues nicely into the legal clinic offering. And if you use the QR code here, it will take you to the legal clinic where they reflect on what they do. They're based in a bespoke environment on the second floor of our building. First floor of our building. My goodness, they'd murder me for that. Including their own computer suite, which you can see on the screen, which is designed for interactive group work or interactive presentations. You can see in the middle picture some of the many, many awards that they've won. Not only apart from the modules that you can do in the clinic, we also have projects where you can work on things like family court representation, helping children with special needs, refugee cases, anti-immigration and trafficking. The list is almost endless. There's usually about 3 or 4 projects running in a year. And every single project we've ever had has won a national award for pro bono work, which is free legal work from the Attorney General's office. And the latest one, our anti-trafficking project that was set up last year, won the award for best new pro bono. So superb resource. Alongside all that, of course, we support you, and the code will take you to some of our different support methods that we have. We have what's called an academic support hub, where we can drop in. We run sessions and master classes, skills classes in that academic support hub based in the building. Currently, we do them online. This can help you with things like referencing, if you're being picked up on referencing, or clarity of expression, or anything, things that are, if you like, academic, but don't necessarily sit within a particular module. We've got a bespoke careers and employability team, and that we have a whole variety of different things, including, as you can see, a digital career hubs and something called Law Extra. Law Extra is a fabulous program we've put together of about 60 talks a year, of which you have to attend at least 7. And they range from anything to, barristers coming in and telling you how to apply for chambers, or how to make a successful career at the bar, to people talking about the disruption caused in new businesses and AI, to simple things like how to make your LinkedIn profile effective, and how to weed out your social media so that something you don't want discovered that you posted many years ago stops you getting a job. And the joy, why do I say 7? If you do 7 of those, you get something called a higher education achievement record, which demonstrates that you're interested in employability. And you get that alongside your degree program. We've got weekly office hours for all module staff. We've got active student societies, as you'll see in a moment. And you also get the benefit of being assigned to a member of staff who looks after a number of students. So they will be your first point of contact for any issues that you have, your academic advisor. And we are proud of that extracurricular support. And I wanted to just share with you that one of the benefits of this is that this year in pandemic, we had BAC students not only participate in our internal mooting competition, which is unusual, but win it. Our internal mooting competition, we were able to lobby the Supreme Court through a competition and won the chance for the final of our internal competition to be in the Supreme Court. And 2 BAC students argued a landlord and tenant dispute before Lady Arden at the Supreme Court. If you go to the QR code, you can see the webpage detailing that moot, and there'll be a little recording from both participants explaining how they did it. In both cases, it was their first opportunity to moot, and they got through all rounds of the competition with us. And I should say, both of them are this year were not in the UK, they were doing this from Malaysia. and we were able to support them. So we're delighted. And these are the sorts of things that you can get yourself involved in. I mean, what an amazing thing for your CV to say that you won the internal competition in a year where you weren't even resident in the country, and you won it not debating in front of someone like me in Liverpool, but in front of the Supreme Court. And so we do take preparing you for professional practice very, very seriously. And we have lots of Twitter links, including our employability link, which you can see there, Live Uni SLSJ EMP. Very, very catchy Twitter handle. And in the UK, there are two parts to the profession, solicitor and barrister. We know that you want to go to the bar. Let me just pause here for a second. Normally in the UK, up until about 20 years ago, if you wanted to qualify as a barrister, you had to go to the Inns of Court in London, or a professional provider like what used to be called the College of Law. After that, some universities then offered bar courses, and they are still very few in number. And if you don't believe me, if you go to Oxford or Cambridge or Durham, which are always seen as big institutions, there is no bar course there. They expect you to go to professional provider. And Liverpool has been the same. We've never offered a bar course. But the College of Law, which is one of the premier providers in the world of legal education and also has always taught a bar course, a lot of our students go to them. The College of Law was renamed a few years ago the University of Law. Very strange name, but that's not my problem. That's what they decided to call themselves. And we partner with the University of Law, or we had partnered with them to do the solicitors training so that you could come to Liverpool and then register with them, and you'd be taught by the University of Law on our campus. They occupy part of the second floor, half of the second floor of our building. So they're a partner with us. But new from September 2021, we have convinced the University of Law to teach the bar course at Liverpool Law School. The news, I'm telling you this news, it's so new, they haven't updated their web pages yet. So if you went to the University of Law web pages, you won't find Liverpool listed, because this is the first time the University of Law has offered the bar course based in the university. All the other sites that they have the bar course are in their own self-standing buildings. We're really excited about this. We've been, as Claire Kelly knows on this call, and Jean, we've been lobbying to get the bar course here, because it means you can stay in the same environment, enjoy the benefits of Liverpool and Liverpool Law School while being taught professional qualification by people who are recognised as world leaders in that particular part of the qualification. The other way we could have done this was to appoint bar staff ourselves and teach it, but we just wouldn't. Most places just cannot compete with the expertise and excellence that the University of Law have in this area. So I repeat, most people go to either the University of Law to do it, something called BPP, or the Inns of Court. You can do it in a few basic universities, but these are the big providers, and we're delighted that they are offering the bar course from the Liverpool campus so that you can stay in the same building, change registration with them, but still enjoy all the services of the university campus and still enjoy coming into our building. As I said, once the details they are currently finalizing the details. They only confirmed, we were waiting for the Bar Standards Board, which regulates provision, to check our accommodation and the accommodation that the University of Law had and the partnership. We're waiting for them to approve it. It had been delayed by COVID. They approved it early last month, early in March. And so we've had official permission to let you know about it. But once the details of how you apply go live, we will let you know, because we've got to tell our existing BAC students, because some of them will be very keen to stay at Liverpool and do the bar course there rather than go elsewhere. And then the last thing I want to do before we hand over to questions, because I know I've been talking for a very long time, but I wanted to give you a lot of detail on modules, is our accommodation offer. Again, QR code will take you to on the top left-hand corner of the screen on the slide when you get it, will take you to our university accommodation offer, and I'll go into it in a bit of detail. The basic point, which we'll come back to if you need to, and Jean can certainly advise, even though you're coming to Liverpool for the first time, we recommend that you, when you're asked for your accommodation preferences, to say you're a returning student. You're not committing fraud, We know you're not a returning student, but all that does is tell our university systems that you'd like to be in a slightly quieter hall. If you are a party animal and you really enjoy the idea of being with a lot of 18-year-olds in the UK and from other places in halls of residence and having a real good time, then don't apply as a returning student, and you'll be allocated more likely to one of our more undergraduate halls where they may not take, well, they certainly take their work seriously, but they find life an extremely entertaining thing because a lot of them have been away from home for the first time. So that's our big tip. Living costs the cost of accommodation depends and varies depending on which accommodation you go for. We have a list of prices, but including living costs, we estimate that in sterling pounds, so I can't do the conversion, I can't remember what the ringgit is at the moment, 9,380 sterling pounds to 10,500. That's because Liverpool is a student city. There are a number of universities in it, and it's because it's in the north of England compared to somewhere like London, it's much cheaper to live, to buy food, to do lots of things. And also, because Liverpool is a student city and there are 3 universities, there are a huge number of private options available. And obviously developers have recognized that there are thousands of students from the universities in the city. The city embraces students and embraces tourism, and therefore there are lots of private halls. And increasingly, as Claire will tell you if you ask her this year, some students who came to us in the UK are in private halls because they offer similar accommodation, sometimes cheaper. The link on the bottom of the screen takes you to something called Liverpool Student Homes. This is a group of an organisation set up between the UK universities in Liverpool, 3 big ones, Liverpool John Moores and Liverpool Hope University, to vet private accommodation. So it's useful to apply through there because they will have checked out the accommodation. And what happens is if there are problems and stories, they will blacklist certain accommodations. So you get to know safety and whatever if you go through Liverpool Student Homes. But if you come to Liverpool accommodation itself, why would you choose to come to accommodation on the campus? Well, you're guaranteed a place if you apply. You're not required, as you are with some private accommodations, to give a guarantor, someone who will guarantee your payments. Your contract can be as low as 39 weeks. It can be longer if you want it to be. If you, for whatever reason, can't arrive, you won't be charged. So we don't, like private landlords, charge you even if we know you can't be in the accommodation. The accommodation is modern. It's been upgraded over the last few years or purpose-built, so it's beautifully modern. It has all the conveniences that people want. There's a lot of flexibility around cancellations. Because you're on university halls, we have a system of what we call wardens and in-house support through residential advisors and a team available 24 hours should problems arise. That we can facilitate room moves easily. You can occasionally get accommodation discounts, which you'll see when you apply. And there are a number of events because it's a number of students living together, either from lots of different diverse international communities or from different parts of the UK. Every, if you like, accommodation on campus has a budget. And so therefore they put on events to bring people together. The other advantage, not on the slide, but a real advantage from talking to people is you're close to your teaching rooms. Because they're based on campus, it means you've got a 9 o'clock class, you can wake up at 8:55, slap some makeup on your face if that's what you want to do, get dressed and be in the relevant teaching room, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, because it's only a few minutes away from where you live. The support in halls really is important. And I can say this from some experience. I've been at Liverpool for 24 years. I'm older than I look. And the first 9 years I spent at Liverpool, I was a hall warden in halls that no longer exist. Not my fault. They didn't close them because of me. But so I know what I'm talking about. So it's really important that you have someone who's responsible and looks after students and looks after your needs. And under the hall warden is something called residential advisors, who are there to deal with any problems that might arise. They're, if you like, usually either members of staff in the university or advanced students doing advanced degrees who are employed to look after your welfare. There's a 24-hour reception should problems arise. The sorts of problems that usually arise are nothing horrible, but someone might have lost their keys. And if you lose your keys and you're in private accommodation, unless you know someone who's a locksmith, you're in trouble. If you lose your keys in halls, not a problem. We have a master key and we can let you in. Likewise, there's secure, there's overnight security, campus is a secure place. There's advice and guidance if issues come up, if something happened, for example, that you weren't sure about, you could tell us. And there's a whole campus support network, which includes if you're working late in the library and you don't want to walk across campus alone, even if it's safe because it's dark and cold, someone will come and pick you up and bring you back to your residences. So there are lots of advantages to university halls. There are a whole variety of them as well. We offer catered and self-catered, much more popular with Malaysian students from my experience of self-catered. English food you might find challengingly boring in terms of its constitution. It's extremely, one of the benefits of Liverpool being both a student city and an international city is there are Chinese supermarkets galore. So one of the questions I often get asked is, should I bring a rice cooker? Should I bring a lot of things from Malaysia? Absolutely not is the answer. You can buy them all cheaply the moment you get here. That's how we know when people arrive. We just see swathes of people head into the different Chinese supermarkets to get supplies. You can have ensuite accommodation or shared accommodation where you share showers, or you can have ensuite. Obviously, you know, like all things, you want more, you pay more. You can have a choice of bed sizes, if that appeals to you. There are shared kitchen studios where you can get to meet with people. The accommodation is modern, safe, and secure. And there's a real community to it. You can see from some of the pictures, you know, we've got lots of green space on campus where you can sit out and chat. There are a lot of events like photo booths. That one's from 2016. I need to update my pictures. There are things like law ball events or hall events. So you dress up and go to a hall ball. And we had open air events. So the bottom picture was someone in one of the halls of residence where we had Shakespeare, open air Shakespeare, when the weather was good. So there's a lot to do. I'm not going to, you'll see it when you go through the accommodation, like all the different accommodation that's available, but two examples, which are usually very popular with either postgraduate students or international students, are Philharmonic Court and Melville Grove. They're both on campus. You can see they're very similar. You've got bespoke kitchens, ensuite, social areas, kitchens, safe environments, beautifully clad buildings. Also, as Claire will advise, if you come to us, there's another less well-known hall, simply because a lot of people don't look at it on the list, called Dover Court, which is similar to Philharmonic and Melville Grove, and it tends to be popular with Malaysian students as well because it's a similar style of accommodation. So my recommendation when you look through the accommodation options is look at self-catered, but you'll find that they are nice. There's a good mix of community spirit and individual ability to work in your own room or do what you want to in your own room, but they're also safe and secure because of all the other services provided in university accommodation. Doesn't mean private accommodation is problematic, it's just there are differences. There are obviously more things we can do for you and services that we provide on campus than some private providers might, because if they offer those sorts of services, it will usually be as an additional charge on top of your rent, so be careful. And that's one of the reasons, if you're looking at private options, to go through Liverpool Student Homes, because they will make all that information clear to you. Admissions criteria then, well, as I said, I'm not going to go through these in any detail because I want to stop talking, but basic message is it's as we've advertised numerous times. We do allow resits in one field module, but you have to explain why there was a problem, why you didn't make it on first sittings and didn't get your average. If you've got any concerns about grades, contact Claire. And she will either answer your query or bring it to someone like me for a consideration, because sometimes we are able, if there are good explanations or people aren't that far off the grades, to take them in. And Jean is very good at campaigning on your behalf, I have to say, and raising profiles. So we have those conversations every time. Tuition fees and scholarships. The tuition fee is 18,600 this year. It's a fixed fee guarantee, which means if you are interested in joining this year too, you'd pay that for your second year and your third year. Obviously, the fact that it's fixed fee guarantee doesn't matter if you're just joining us for a year. There are a number of scholarships available. Again, I'll not go through them. Essentially, if you get £1,500 off if you put us first choice on UCAS, because you'll get a travel bursary and a travel award of 500 and 1,000 respectively, and they're at a conditional firm. The university then has some criterion-based awards, which, as you can see, if you're entering in year 2, you have to have got an average of 62% with no module below 58%. And if you meet that criteria on your BAC attainment coming in, you'll receive a reduction in fees automatically of 2,500. The more exciting bit is, because we recognize that we're such a popular destination for our BAC students, and we're really proud of our links with you, we have 10 scholarships, which are worth £5,000 each, so serious money, but you have to apply, and you have to apply to me. And I should say I'm not open to bribes. So you have to go through a process, and the process is detailed again on the slide. It's an application process, and I look at not just your grades, but other things that you've done while at BAC. So did you involve yourself in the student community? Did you lead, did you volunteer in bacteria, for example? Did you make sure that people got good food? What was it you did? Or were you someone who struggled and really improved as you went along? And it's holistic judgment, and judgment is final. And then the good news is we then have a ceremony. So back in 2019, you can see there I am glowing in the back, shining nicely in the light. We had an award ceremony. In fact, we had an award ceremony this year. It was virtual, so I had a lot of virtual handshakes and lots of elbow bumping. So we make a fuss of the scholarship awards. And you'll also see that the last time I was in Malaysia was October 2019, and there I am presenting a BAC graduate with a scroll at the BAC graduation in October. And also, you might recognize one of your old teaching rooms. Can't remember whether that was Sheffield or Newcastle, but that was in October, me giving the talk on land law, I believe, to some second-year students. And so you'll find there's a huge continuing partnership, and the QR link will take you to our international pages designed just for Malaysian students. And I'll show you that slide, what that landing page looks like at the end. So just before we open for Q&A, stay in contact with us if you've got any problems. You can contact me as head of department. You can contact Professor Aurora, who sometimes does visits as well. And she's our Director of International Partnerships. You can contact Claire. And if you want to hear from the students about what it's like to be a member of Liverpool Law School, 2 BAC students have recorded a little interview with Professor Aurora. If you use that QR code, you can go and listen to what they say and about how they found Liverpool supportive, even in the pandemic where they've been learning online. As I said, you'll see all our information on our Malaysian Study Partners UK transfer page, and you'll see from the bar on the right-hand side that we have lots of different stories, student testimonials and whatever, and that's a gateway that you can use for any information after this talk that you want. Thank you extremely for your attention.